and welcome back to Tony Northeastern. And before we move on to what this video is really all about, just like to have a look at the garage one last time, and before we move on, I've had some really great comments from you guys out there, which I do appreciate, and I think it's a fantastic little world we all live in, because it's a hobby of ours, and lots of people build the model railways just for fun, just for memories, but I like to think I'm building my model railway just so I can look back on it and see how we started out from humble beginnings to where it is now, just for future generations who come into the hobby and have a look at what we've all done in the past and get ideas of how to do it, because we all do things differently, and we all seem to end up with the same result: really great looking layouts. We all put different stamps on it, whether it's Northeastern Region, Modern Image, LMS, Great Western. We all have our quirky ways of building stuff. So anyway, that's enough of me rambling on. I could talk about this all day, but I'm sure you want to see what I'm going to do next. Right, here I am, smack in the middle of the layout. You can see by the size of this layout that when you look back at my videos, I'm always jumping from one area to the other, and now's the time to do the final piece of this layout, which is this storage yard. Will have a baseboard on top of it, and this should be the showcase of the whole layout. It's going to be an interesting job, because when I move the baseboard in and put it on top of this one, I've got all this around me, and I've got to be very careful how I handle the baseboard. I've been looking forward to doing this bit for a long time, because at the moment the trains finish over at High Shields, and once they leave High Shields, it'll come right round the room, across these bridges here, and then into the main station, which will become South Shields. True to history forms, when I first built this layout, I purposely stopped doing this baseboard, because in real history times it took 5 years to build the railway from High Shields to South Shields. So hopefully by the time this is finished in next August, that will be my 5 years on YouTube building this layout. Please forgive the mess, because I'm just about to clear the storage yard and clear up all the mess ready. So that'll be my next job, to empty the storage yard and glue and screw the supports before I start making the frame. Here we have the last loco to leave the fiddle yard. Okay, that's looking a bit tidier, and now that all the rolling stock has been cleared out of the sidings, that will now leave me to do the odd jobs I need to do, what's left outstanding on this track work before the next level goes above. Because once the next baseboard sits on the top, I haven't got a lot of clearance, so I'll still be able to get access to both sides, but I'll be restricted on height wise. It'll be roughly be the height there where I've got there. It's about 115 millimeters off the baseboard, so I'll still be able to get my hands in. But any of the bigger jobs, I need to do those now. But before I can concentrate on that, I need to figure out this area here. So the first job is to fit those tracks. They've been cut to length. I've just got to solder some cables onto the furthest one. There's barely enough room to get a hammer in, because I've only got roughly about 70 mil off the top of this floor here before it hits the ceiling of the loft. So that's the next job anyway, to put these two tracks in place. Okay, the track has now been fitted here on the left hand side, and the cables have been added for the supply to the track. Just underneath, you probably see there's 8 cables there. That's a pair on this joint, pair on this joint, there and there. But what you probably don't know is that just there and just there are isolators. The reason why these two tracks are going to be isolated is just in case when I come to pull the drawer out here, that I've got trains running. It should never happen, but it's a safety device I've put in. How I've done it? Good question. What I've done is I have taken a supply which goes through this cable here to the drawer. Underneath the drawer, the live then comes back out and then feeds all these tracks that are within reach of the drawer. So let's just quickly demonstrate this. Okay, as you can see, I've clamped the test probes to the track. This should give me a voltage reading of around about 15 volts, 15.8. Yeah, 15.8. So the minute I unplug the plug, it should drop down. To around about a third of that. So that means I've got power on one rail but not the other, which therefore if a train runs along there, it would stop. I just thought I'd show you that quick demonstration. So if I put the plug back in, I should then go back to 15.8 or thereabouts. Right, time to do the other side. Okay, the tracks have now been pinned and wired up on this side as well now, so that's them finished. So now we're going to concentrate on bridging the gap. It will be a lift out. I was toying with the idea of permanently fixing it to the drawer, but I think I'll probably have issues with the top bridge clashing with the buttresses as I'm pushing the drawer in. So I've come up with this plan here. So it'll have a centre pillar, and that is the actual bridge platform, if you like. That's the side view. It will be lifted off. I've got a double barrel clasp, one to go on each end to keep the bridge located in place. Like I said before, the central pillar here will be glued and screwed into the centre of the drawer here, and that will stay permanently fixed. I don't know why I drilled those holes originally. I think I might have had a different plan, but I will cover them up at a later point. The main focus is to get the bridge across. So I'm going to go away now, cut all the bits and pieces. Okay, after an hour or so of cutting the pieces out, and it's beginning to look a little bit like a bridge. It's all loose at the moment. It's just made out of MDF 12mm, and this centre pillar is just made out of 18mm with 6mm sides, and that will be glued and screwed to the centre permanently, which will give it a basis of lining up the bridge when the bridge actually drops on. So I've got a couple of bearers to make to go onto the underside, and once they're made up I can offer that up, see if everything lines up. I've cut some sides ready, a couple of plywood sides to go on the edges. They'll be, I'll have to sand them and score them and ready for painting. But yes, it's coming along. Okay, I'm happy with the centre pillar, so that is now glued and screwed, because I've did a pre-trial fit of the new base on the bridge. All I've done here is I've screwed 2 battens to the underside, 15mm square the batten is, and that's what those notches are for. Notched it out 15mm square, and I fit that in there nicely like that. It's still a bit seesawish, as you can see. It sort of rocks backwards and forth, but I'm not worried about that at the moment because I've got a plan for that. Using these double ball catches, I'm going to screw one to the underside there and the other side there, and then that should hopefully stop that from rocking. I've been having problems with these double ball catches. You fit them and the bridge was rocking backwards and forwards, so I've decided to go the old-fashioned route and just have a plinth there with the notches cut out, and it seems to go on there a lot flatter. So I'll do this side and then we'll see where I go from there. You can actually see where I've had the screws, and all it was doing, like I said, it was just causing a rocking motion, even though I put one in the middle to try and steady it. Right, after a lot of deliberating, I have got rid of the centre pillar that was there. I've taken that out altogether. I've finished putting in the plinths, one that side and one the other side, and I've stuck with the double ball catches and put one underneath there in the centre and one underneath there centre, and that is solid now. That is, once that's down, that's solid. There's no rocking in there at all now, and it's level as well. Both sides is level and flush. So I can now concentrate on putting the track work on the bridge bed. So that'll be my next job, and I'll worry about getting the power supply to it after the tracks are on. Now we have the tracks on the bridge, and I've just given it a little test with a truck to make sure the rails line up, and so I'm happy with that. So by adding these pieces of notched out timber underneath with those double ball valve catches on, actually pulls the latches down hard, and it keeps the bridge level. So I'm glad that's worked. So all we've got to do now is put the power to these tracks and we can give it a test. I decided what to do about getting the power supply to the bridge. What I've done is I've cut up some rod and I've actually soldered it to the tips of the tracks on the outside face of the tracks. So when you drop this in, it'll marry up with the tracks either side on the buttresses and hopefully carry on the power through the rails to the other side. So basically all I'm doing is I'm adding some flux to the side of the rail, and then just with a soldering iron I'm just running the solder down the outside of the rail like so, and I've already cut my rod up to 16mm long in length, and I'm just going to use a little clamp just to hold it while I put the heat into it. Obviously put plenty of flux onto the rod. The rod diameter itself is around about 1.6mm in diameter, which just fits nicely in that rail. So what I'm doing now is just put plenty of solder onto this. Get it nice and warm. Plenty on. And then just hold it in place. Keep the rod on. Keep the soldering iron on. And you want it about 5 or 6mm away from the edge of the track, and making sure you're pushing it right in. Once you think you've got it, just take the heat off and just hold it there for a little bit. Let it cool down and then take the clamp off. You need to take the clamp off so that the rail comes back in line, because I've had to push the rod into the outer edge of the rail. Hopefully that will do it. Okay, once all the rods have been soldered to the tracks, just file them down nice and flat till you come down to the rail, and then just a little bit of emery cloth or emery paper just to take any scratch marks off. And then in theory we should end up with this scenario where it just pushes on nice and tight, and the locomotive should just run straight over the top of that. Right, there's one more job left to do before we try it out, and that's to fit on these girders. All it is 3mm ply, and I've just scored it, and I've got to get it done quickly because 2019, and this is the last day of 2019. Yes, it's New Year's Eve, so I want to get this finished today, because 2020 I want to be doing something else. So I'll just crack on, put the sides on, and then we'll test it, and then happy days. Right, at last the bridge is now on its buttresses, and there's not a lot left to do to the bridge to finish it off. Paint the girder sides, which we're just talking about a minute ago. The track needs ballasting, of course. So there's only one thing left to do. Let's test out the electrics on the bridge, see if those pins work. So here it comes. We've got a prototype Deltic to test this out, so yeah, that's good. That went on there nice and smoothly, and that's the first time a locomotive has run on this section of track. It's only taken about 4 years. So driver, if you'd like to bring it back, there's just one more test we have to do. So as it's coming back, remember earlier in the video I mentioned the pull-out plugs for the pull-out drawer. So if I pull out the plug just before now, it should stop, like so. And if I put it back in, we should go across the bridge. And we can pull the plug out and it'll stop there as well. But the idea of this is to stop me having an accident if I pull out the drawer, if there's any trains running. So that's all from me now. Big thank you for the driver. Thank you, driver. And hope you all have a lovely new year, and we'll see you all in the new year. Bye for now. Bye.